So we find out that the reason why Halle Bell was taken, not the reason, but we find out that she was taken from Wakamundo. Obviously, she was left there to rule, being the strongest Espada left. You know, I don't know where the hell Grimjal is, but I'm sure he'll make his appearance soon. I'll get into why I think he'll appear probably within the next 10 or 20 chapters, or less. That's just my opinion, or my thoughts, and I'll go into that in just a minute. Now, we find out that several Von den Reich members, almost like a squad, had been sent to Wakamundo and had been capturing / killing Hollows, killing majority of them, and which would explain the Hollow disappearances throughout. And I would imagine they killed them in the balance, blah blah blah. It didn't work out because they're not using Zanpakuto. I don't know why the Quincy's think what they're doing is just. If they know what the outcome is, we'll find out more about it. Maybe it's not true or something stupid like that, but we'll find out in the future why they're going to such lengths to do what they believe is going to be the end of, you know, the world. I mean, the Shinigami know this, and they're telling them this. There's the reason why they're exterminated, so why did they do it in the first place? Why are they continuing to do it? Why are they fighting back? Blah, blah, blah. But anyway, we see various Von den Reich members, and they seem more German than ever. I mean, they remind me so much of Nazis. Ridiculous with the outfits, the flag. I mean, it's clear that they were going for the German Army World War II motive. There's no doubt about that. And I mean, it makes sense because with the Arrancar, you have Spanish, and Shinigami have Japanese, and Quincy's and Balance you have Japanese. I'm not Japanese. You have German. I'm sorry. And with the Fullbringers, you have English. So, you know, and Balance were basically like a you know, a production of blah blah blah. You watch the Balance arc if you don't understand. It related to Quincy's quite a bit, so that would make sense that they used quite a bit of German in their incantations. But anyway, the Quincy's are primarily use German motifs like Let's Steal, Sele Schneider, what else? Vollständig, whatever, etc., 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 etc. So that's their thing. That's what makes them special. It's German. So Kubo decided, hey, why not make them, you know, a German style of of clothing? And I would imagine that, because remember the Arrancar arc when they started doing the Spanish style of official soundtracks and whatnot with the Spanish guitar. I would imagine they do something German related, I guess, for the Von den Reich arc in the event they continue the anime, which I hope they hold it off for about a year and a half, 2 years. I think that would be an appropriate time for them to catch up on that arc. That would be enough time, in my opinion. But they're dressed in all, you know, German-style uniforms, and it's like, wow, okay, they just invaded this place, they're committing genocide, basically, and I've just been like, wow, more World War II-looking stuff. So, they're just slaughtering Hollows left and right, and you got this asshole piece of shit, Kirige, and the moment I saw him, I didn't like him. Now, I'll admit, I do like him a fair bit more now, and I'll get into why in just a moment, but when I saw him, I was just like, great, we have an over-dictative asshole, you know, doing what he does, basically saying, lick my boot if you want to survive, maybe, or maybe I'll stab you a couple times, and if you survive, blah, blah. And you've got Loli and Menoli, and I was like, oh, I haven't seen them in a while, that are challenging them. Kirige just, and they're done for, and I was like, okay, they're not really all that strong anyway, so I can't really judge Kirige's strength. And then you've got, finally, the three fraction of Halle Bell, which are Sun Sung, Mila Rose, and Apache, and they show up, and it's just like, okay, we're gonna kick your ass, and I'm like, okay, they might do it, but we find out that they get their ass whooped, and meanwhile, back in the human world, Ichigo is talking to Ryu and friends, and he doesn't really talk about the Quincy Pentacle that much, despite Ryu being there. So that's whatever. And then, conveniently, Urahara shows up. Now, I don't know if he's going to betray anybody. I mean, it's too obvious. Like, if you said, like, if someone would basically to be from the future and go up to you and be like, hey, there's a guy in Bleach who's a good guy who betrays everyone, turns out to be an antagonist. Can you guess who it is? Urahara? That's going to be everybody's response. It's just too damn obvious. Because, I mean, he was suspicious enough in the Soul Society arc, you know, before they ever went into the Soul Society, and when he'd find out about the Hogyoku, I was like, damn, don't tell me he's an antagonist to some degree, too. You find out he apologizes and had reasons for it, and then the Arrancar arc, he's still fine. I mean, it's just been too long coming for it, and he seems shady enough in the Fullbring arc, where the Ginjo talking about it. They're just there's just really too much. It's just too obvious. I mean, I just don't see him turning out to be an antagonist. I think the odds of that are minimal at best. So, but anyway, my point is they make it more obvious by him just conveniently showing up and being like, hey, we're going to go to Wakamundo and rescue Don Chaka, because earlier you had noted, after the Yvonne fight, Ichigo had been skull bashed by Nell, and I was like, Nell! Yeah, I like Nell, don't hate. And Pesce's there as well, and I don't see Don Chaka, and I'm like, okay, where is he? Let me guess, he got kidnapped or killed or something. So we find out he'd been kidnapped, presumably by the Vandenreich in Wakamundo, and Ichigo, vowed to save Don Chaka. So he goes with, Chad, Norihime, and I'm surprised enough to see that Urahara actually went along, because I'm tired of him being like, danger in the Soul Society, you have to rescue somebody, come on in. I'm going to open up a barrier for you, but I'm not going to go with you. Same thing with the Arrancar arc, and I was just like, you know how strong you are? You're a fucking captain. You have a Bankai. You would be so much fucking help. I mean, but I'm surprised that he actually went into Wakamundo, so that was pretty awesome. So, but Uryu decided not to go along for the reasons being, that he doesn't help Shinigami. And I was just like, oh yeah, sure, because that prevented you from helping Ichigo out in the Shinigami arc, the Substitute arc, and the Soul Society arc, going in to help a Soul Reaper, save a Soul Reaper, basically. And then going into the Arrancar, arc, going into Wakamundo, helping Ichigo. I understand it's a friend or a Hime, but really. And then the Fullbring arc, he's helping Ichigo to some degree. And now in this, he decides not to help, really. Now, the reason for this is probably because with each arc, you have someone important. Like, for example, we have the first mini arc to do with Ichigo. Well, every arc sort of does. And then you have the Soul Society arc, which is about Rukia. The Arrancar arc, which is more Orihime-based. The Fullbring arc, sorry, Chad, you got the short end of the stick. And now we're going to have if you're excluding Renji, we have Uryu's left. And this is about Quincy, so we know him and or his father, Ryuken, are going to get some, some kind of, backstory or some major turning point in this arc. So the fact that he didn't go with them was just ridiculously suspicious. I don't know if he's going to betray them. I highly doubt it. What I think is going to happen is the Vandenreich are going to persuade him to join their Quincy brethren, basically, and help defeat Ichigo. And I was wondering, why? I mean, does Uryu have something we don't know about or something? But whatever. But there's a reason for that, and if you listen later, you'll understand more about that. But anyway, they go into Wakamundo, they see Kirige and friends, and we find out that Kirige had defeated, the three-faction, Hallibel's three-faction, without so much as transforming, and I was just like, god damn. Did they defeat Ion too? Or Ion? I'm sorry, it's Ion. I believe it's Ion because double L's, Spanish, Arrancar, double L's often have the Y sound, and the fact that it is spelled with a Y occasionally, I believe it is Ion. But he shows up, Ichigo and friends show up, and Ichigo is like, oh, Kirige, blah blah, let's fight. So they're fighting and whatnot, and the fight starts off alright, and I believe Kirige activates his bow, which is kind of like, it's like a mini sword. It's like this, I can't really describe it all that well, but it's not your typical Quincy bow. And Uryu is like, oh, I thought all Quincy's used bows or whatever. I mean, not Uryu, but Ichigo. So I was like, huh. And the fight's getting heated up and whatnot, and Ichigo is managing to reflect the blast by Kirige with his bare hand, which I thought was ridiculously funny, but Kirige mentions that his attacks must not be effective because if you're able to deflect them with your bare fucking hand, a projectile, then yeah, your attacks aren't doing shit. So Ichigo was just like, well, don't worry, your attacks are much stronger than Uryu's, and Kirige's like, you mean Uryu Ishida? That's impossible. He did not say maybe or not likely, said that's impossible, implying that Uryu's power eclipses his own. And this guy is handling Ichigo, so that's ridiculous. I mean, and that furthers my idea of why Uryu didn't go to Wakamundo, because, like I said, the Vandenreich may approach him during this time or sometime soon, convincing him to come back, and fight against the Soul Society, and with power that is supposedly much stronger than Kirige's, that makes a lot of sense that they would come to Uryu and convince him. So that is just, I mean, and that, so that's more proof that he's going to have some major, you know, development in this arc. It's probably going to be a turning point of some kind, like just halfway through, like, oh my god, or something stupid like that. But yeah, the fight's getting heated. Kirige transforms using his Quincy Volstandig, which is not like the Let's Steal that Uryu used in the Soul Society, because that drains your powers when you finish it. This, I assume, does not, because he's willing to use it against Ichigo. And another thing that happens is that there's a report to this the Soul King, or not the Soul King. I'm thinking he may be the Soul King, but the Empire King, that one of the 5 special war potentials, one of them being Ichigo Kurosaki, I'm not sure who the other 4 are, but I want to assume the main characters or so, are currently in Wakamundo fighting against the Vandenreich. And he basically says, you know what, this is a perfect time to go and invade Soul Society. And I was just like, right now? Like we're going right now. You're going right now to do what you said you were going to do in 5 days, assuming this has only been like 1 or 2 days. I would assume it's only been 1 day, but you're going there right now, just because Ichigo is gone. So one that says that Ichigo is more than a threat, instead of that cliche like Aizen, like, okay, this guy can do Bankai, he beat the living shit out of Byakuya Kuchiki, though barely, yet he's not a threat. And I admit firsthand at the beginning of the Rancor arc that his power is growing, and Ukiura says himself that. So Aizen, am going to say that Ichigo's power is not going to be a problem, yet he kicks my ass anyway. I'm finally glad that this cliche bullshit's not happening. I'm finally glad to see that the leader is at least admitting that Ichigo can be a threat. I'm sure he imagines he's stronger than Ichigo. He may be at this point, but at the very least he's taking Ichigo seriously and not treating him like he's 5 years old and saying, okay, this is the perfect time to invade Soul Society because one less to deal with. So they go in. That means they admit that he's strong enough that they're willing to say, no, let's just wait the 5 days. No, Ichigo is inside Wakamundo. Oh, we gotta go now. He's charging right the fuck in there. And, you know, that's that. And that was just like, wow. And continuing on with the Kirige and Ichigo fight, while Kirige is in his Quincy Volstandig, he gains these white wings that are angel-like, and he's much stronger. I mean, he's taking down Ichigo, no sweat. But to be fair, Ichigo's not in Bankai. And you see, Ichigo throws Nell, by the way, earlier on, and she's got the spirals on her eyes, and it's all funny. Urihime catches her, and at one point Kirige's charging his energy with his sword, and just like what Uryu did with against Mayuri, and you saw how destructive that was. He blew a hole in him. He charged straight through his fucking Bankai. Granted, it's, in my opinion, one of the weaker Bankais. I don't consider Mayuri one of the stronger captains, even though he's one of the more cunning ones. He can use things to get to his advantage, but I would imagine that majority of the captains would be able to beat him. He still plowed through a fucking Bankai in 1 hit, so holy fucking shit. Now, I believe that that this is going to be, you know, ridiculously devastating as he's charging it, and I'm just like, oh shit, and next thing you know, Ion just pops up and BAM! Hits that wing thing. That looks like kind of like a wing, separate wing that's charging up like in Uryu's kind of, and I'm just like, oh shit, and then pff, Ion puts one really big fist to Kirige's face, and it's just, and I'm like, hell to the yes. 15-minute mark is coming up. I'll have to make a 4th video, but it will be very short, just a few minutes, so stay with me.